Order the Douglas Zoning Board of Appeals meeting on Wednesday, October 14th at 7:07 PM. And the first agenda item is we need to reorganize after the reappointments. So, I don't know if we,
Well, I'll nominate Dan to be the chairman, or the chairperson. I don't mean to be sexist, I
Okay.
apologize.
Chairperson.
I'll second that.
okay. And do we want, anybody want to make a motion for vice chair?
I'll make a motion for Mike Fitzpatrick for vice chair.
Ooh,
Well, John,
that's a radical change.
I never knew you cared.
Just because she didn't show up, you're going to stick the knife. I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion for myself to be chair, Mr. Fitzpatrick to be vice chair. Both motions have been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. And the next item for discussion is a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for car washes, and that we have Bob Menarikson to give us a little rundown of what it's all about.
Well, as you know, we're working on, well, first of all, my name is Bob Menarick, Economic Development Commission, co-chairman, I should say vice chairman. We've been working with a lot of potential investors, business people within the town of Douglas. They want to do business in the town of Douglas. But our zoning bylaws are 20 years old and they need some updating. We had an interest from a Rochelle Pena from Worcester who wants to establish a car wash somewhere in Douglas. Well, according to our zoning bylaws, if it's not in the uses regulations, tables, it's not allowed. So this proposal was to add number 25, car wash under commercial. We came up with a definition, a structure containing facilities for washing vehicles with automatic or semi-automatic application of cleaners, brushes, rinse water, and/or heat or drying. Including equipment, for example, vacuuming, drying, air pressure for tires, separate from the structure. So we've covered the gamut what would occur in this car wash. It could be fully automatic where you just, it's driverless, you just hook up on a chain, the belt pulls you through. Or you can pull into bays and wash your vehicle yourself with your hand wands. That's the semi-automatic portion. If you want to vacuum your car or fill your tires with air pressure, like Family Fuse has an air pump there, put a quarter in, you get so many minutes for air pressure. They can have that. Everything, we covered pretty much everything in this car wash. We went with industrial zone by right, and then planning board special permit under VB and commercial on the districts. All the other districts would be not allowed. So with that said, we're changing or updating our zoning bylaws to attract business, be more business friendly.
So that is a bit of a problem, because if it's not spelled out in there, if it doesn't say a specific business, it's not allowed.
Right.
So it's trying to make it more business friendly.
And we couldn't fit it anywhere. You went through the industrial uses, the commercial uses, you just couldn't fit it in any of those categories. You could get creative, but somebody could question it, so. I spent hours one weekend going through surrounding towns, about 20 towns, and Sturbridge has a good car wash definition. This pretty much is close to their definition, but they say washing automobiles. Somebody could say, well, you get a pickup truck, you can't wash that.
Right.
You know, so we changed automobiles to vehicles to cover motorcycles, pickup trucks, campers, whatever. You could clean it. Somebody on the planning board recommended including this other miscellaneous equipment, separate from the structure. because you won't have an air pump inside the car wash.
Right.
It just won't. It'll be somewhere else on the outside with its compressor. So, a lot of back and forth, a lot of good input from different people to come up with this definition. But like you said, if it's not listed, it's not allowed.
Not allowed, yeah.
And it's nice that we have people at least looking at Douglas to have a car wash. I guess the one in Uxbridge is now closed permanently.
Really?
That's what I was told.
Which one?
146A.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
On the left-hand side with
Yeah,
it.
somebody went there the other day and they said it was closed, and it does not look like it will open. So the closest one we have is Webster, the mobile station, the Iridian Ranch.
Yeah, I didn't read.
That's less than 5 years. That's a brand-new building in Uxbridge.
You know, it could be, you know, I may be mistaken, but I could be speaking. I think it's closed like for like the summertime and the fall. I think it does close down.
It's seasonal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's, you know, you're paying for electricity, and on nice days, the hot sunny days, your car's not getting dirty, if you know.
Right.
So,
But it will be used in the winter.
oh, for sure. I've used it myself on my truck.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions for Bob or
No, I-
comments?
Sean,
I don't have a question, but just a point.
Yeah, go ahead.
It isn't that I'm opposed to this, and I don't want it to be taken as such. I would like to point out, and again, I would vote for it, and I would vote for, that we should recommend to the planning board that we should do it. I'm a little nervous personally about it being as a matter of right. There must be some reason, and I just don't know what it is, and I won't pretend to, and I won't bluff it. But there must be some reason that it isn't included in the use definition sections when you figure most of this stuff is put out by, you know, like municipal group, organization, governmental agencies and schools and whatnot. But for instance, because we got like a crazy definition of the word structure, I mean, arguably under this definition, I could put up a tent and clean out garbage trucks under the way that this is defined. Because a structure can be a tent. It can be a building, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a building by the definition of structure under our bylaws, unless I'm horribly mistaken. And I'd like to be. But I think that, of course, it's so improbable that it's not something to be worried about, but I just kind of feel the need to throw it out there.
No, absolutely.
Just to
It's a
think
ballot.
about.
It's a ballot
I mean, in
comment.
terms of wanting to have the business in town, I'm all in favor of it. And it's a good thing. I'm sorry, I apologize.
When you think about it, that type of thing is going to be in competition with other places. So I can't see a guy putting up some kind of rinky-dink place to have a car wash. Because if that's what you're,
No, my only point was to just, I apologize, the only point that I was trying to point was, and I think if you probably get the definition there of structure, you'll see it actually includes, I believe, the word tent, if I'm not
It does.
mistaken.
Retaining wall, if you want, I'll read it.
Yeah,
Mr.
please.
Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
A combination of materials assembled at a fixed location to give support or shelter, such as a building, framework, retaining wall, tent, reviewing stand, platform, bin, fence, sign, flagpole, recreational tramway, mast for radio antenna, or the like. I think you can eliminate half of these with a car wash.
Right.
Flagpole, recreational tramway. I can't envision somebody coming in with a tent. Now, by right, they still have to submit a site plan, correct?
Yeah, that's
That would
good.
be rejected.
But on what basis? I mean, again, I'm not,
Right.
I would
I can
vote
see
for
your
it, and I
point.
would vote for it. I suppose I just wanted to point out the definition of the word structure under our bylaws is just, structure's a tough word. You put in a lot of work to look for these words in the right definition, and I don't mean to diminish that in any way.
No.
It's a funny word for structure, is what.
Definition of a building. First words, a structure.
So it could be anything.
Right.
It's just it's an issue
I mean-
I've whined about in the past, and I apologize, but
Ideally, we all think of a car wash as concrete block walls, with doorways and the plastic flaps.
Yeah, you wouldn't build all out of wood and put sheet rock on the inside.
At the moment, you make it a matter of right? Can't
So,
stop it.
so Sean, just.
No, I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm not. I
I know,
apologize.
I know.
interrupt.
No, I'm serious. So this bylaw, not what we're trying to write up now, the bylaw we already have on record, should be scrutinized and changed.
Yeah.
And you've seen this before? Yeah,
I brought it up before.
And I remember
And
seeing
then-
it, seeing a tent, and, how's that structure?
Yeah.
And I just didn't think anything of it because it,
Well, but.
it's a flagpole, it's a structure,
Yeah, but wait a minute, John, the terminology, structure, we got into this with North Village because of the side entrance. Once they put a roof on it, it became a structure, and that was considered for their setbacks. So you gotta watch what you're gonna change in this.
No, I mean,
Because-
taking like tent out of the picture of that, because it's
No,
not
it's
a
a-
structural thing, is it not? I mean, it has to,
A tent's a structure.
Yeah, you have to get a building permit. In the building code, it's a structure.
okay, all right, because when he just said to me, it was like, well, once you put a roof on it,
Well, that's for like the stoop on the side.
Yeah.
If you had just a set of stairs, it doesn't count for your setback. Once you place a roof on it and you
top.
provide shelter, it
Shelter.
becomes a structure. And that's what the terminology is. in it.
so let me
I
go
don't know, I don't
back,
think
let me go
that's-
back to Sean now.
Yeah.
And say, what would you change, or would you change our bylaw with that?
Man, that's unfair.
No,
No. Well, in
No,
truth.
you're the attorney. No,
In truth.
Yeah.
In truth, I like with the fact that it's defined as structure containing facilities, which does suggest something fixed as opposed to something temporary, which is something different than putting up a tent. I'm just saying, I can just see argument to be made, that's all.
Yeah.
I just don't like to, I
That's your job.
think we got an issue with the word structure, that's all.
Yeah.
In the town
So
bylaws,
we-
more than car washes, and that
Not
was
that I want
my
to
point.
adopt you to reconfigure that,
No, not to reconfigure it, but during Sean's comment, I picked up another very important point that he made that had nothing to do with structure. He used the example of washing a garbage truck, and this is why Sturbridge has vehicles, automobiles, because there's a difference. If you go to Woonsocket, you can't wash your engine bay, and you have to start thinking about the environmental. Like right now, I watched your planning board meeting when you proposed this. It might even be on the EDC, one of the two anyways. And the first thought that came out, because you had it allowed in industrial by right, it just says yes. Currently, we don't have industrial over our watershed area or overlay or whatever it is. But recently, we've been doing different changes to different zoning areas, and you could potentially end up in a watershed area, and now you're potentially creating an environmental concern in that area.
Car
So
wash is prohibited in watershed area in the book.
there's no notation there's no subnote on this bylaw, so the argument could be made is industrial says I can have it.
Right.
But it still have to go through site plan
Still
review.
have to go through the watershed, I forgot which section it is, but it is specifically listed in there, car wash is prohibited.
Yeah.
Bob said-
I'm 100% for the car wash.
Yeah.
However, I do have reservations whether or not you would be allowed to wash a garbage truck or you're washing your engine bays and stuff like that, because it would become an environmental concern for the town.
Well,
So-
you could ask a question of one of the, like the one in Uxbridge there on 146A. If these car washes have ever seen somebody come in with a garbage truck, I mean, what's your experience? Pick their brain.
Yeah, but Ronnie, the one on 146A it wouldn't accommodate a garbage truck. But this doesn't say that that's all they can build. They can say they can build a structure to wash vehicles. So they could make a huge building to wash garbage trucks,
Yeah,
or
well,
an
you have
outside
truck
stall
trailers. You have
to wash garbage trucks. So it's just it was
Towns,
a valid concern that you brought up, and you made.
parameters?
I already had it here, watershed, engine,
As-
wash
as-
bay,
as building,
and
but they
the
built.
et cetera that he has in there. So, anyway, that's the point on the, and just a comment on the wash bay. being a truck wash or an engine wash bay. The other thing is just that et cetera on the end. This gets back to, like the zoning change, you said manufacturing inside a building.
Inside.
Well, it can't be outside a building, why not? The comma said, so when you put et cetera, what does et cetera mean? It could be anything that you want to put in there, et cetera, it's just extra. So you just want to think about that et cetera, that's in there,
Well,
that's
the
all.
three things we thought of were listed, drying, air pressure, vacuuming. Who knows what's down the road? We didn't want to limit ourselves to somebody coming in.
It's not as much as limiting as you're leaving it wide open, because now you're kind of handcuffing the planning board or whatever, because now it's et cetera. Well, what's et cetera
So
mean?
you could put a vending machine outside that sells the little trees, smelly trees, or a Coke machine. That would be considered acceptable. If you're doing a vacuum.
Then write vending machines in there. That's
know,
all
I'm
I'm saying, is
just
you're
trying to
leaving
give you an
it,
idea.
when you put a vague term in, because we just went through this with that other zoning issue that we had about the manufacturing. And it's too vague of a term, it's not identified. So when you leave et cetera like that, what does that mean? I think there's a strong argument for somebody that wants to put in something that you may not necessarily want. Just a comment. That's all it's for, I guess.
Now, I got a question.
Sure.
How important is it to, where they're going to have the water that's, goes down the drain? You're going to put this in, an area where they have sewer? Or is it going to be septic? I can't see this being on a septic.
Well, you have the one in Oxford, I don't know if you're familiar with that one that's on the left-hand side there over by the dance studios on the right.
Green one, right?
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
little green machine or whatever it's called.
Right.
That recycles. It has a tank in there, because if you go in there, sometimes it smells like swamp water. Yeah, it's time to change the tank. But they recycle it,
They have
and
an
then they
option
have
for
to
that.
have it pumped out or whatever they do.
You have an option for that?
What do you mean?
There is a design for that, yes.
The newer ones do recycle.
Right.
Because if it was tried to be put on we have town septic, which is not that much, but is that something that would be prohibitive?
Yeah.
Huh?
That would have to be, again, site plan review.
Site plan review.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
And maybe I don't unnecessarily understand site plan review. Would site plan review truly have that degree of discretion to say that? Because once you've said as a matter of use, you have a right to do this, and then you have the site plan review, can the site plan review say your fundamental reason for doing it, that you're going to empty out your oil containers into the ground? I'm giving ridiculous examples, but just to go to the extreme, can that be stopped by site plan review?
Well,
It's my
that's
understanding
what
what
we're
site
saying
plan-
about et cetera. So drying, vacuum.
Yeah, but
Now I understand.
yeah, we're talking about a couple different things.
Yeah.
If we said, I'm sorry.
No,
So if we said a special permit, then they'd have to submit something, and they'd have to tell us what they're gonna do.
Correct.
And then we could actually say something, as opposed to it being by right. But
Yeah.
of course, that makes it more, I guess, onerous in terms of coming in and petitioning. It makes me-
There will be a
makes-
site plan review, because the three things that require a site plan review by the planning board: construction of a commercial industrial structure more than 500 square feet. I'm just trying to pick out the words. I'm trying to eliminate multifamily structures. Construction, commercial, industrial, structure for purpose. So this would trigger site plan review.
My only, and this is my sincere ignorance, honestly. It just seems to me that if it's allowed as a matter of right, and say somebody, I'm using look, for the most part, this is never going to happen. And I realize that, and probably I'm being over paranoid in my definitions and worrying about it. But suppose somebody decided, for whatever reason, that they wanted to rinse out their oil trucks on a piece of land that they own, and they want to have it run onto the ground, and they want to do it underneath a tent. Can site plan review say, well, no, you can't do that because, well, we don't like it? Because wouldn't it go by the definitions, and so isn't site plan review limited by its ability, by the ability to say no, by the fact that that use is automatically allowed? And I don't know I honestly don't know the answer to
Well,
that
and that's
question.
what my concern is.
I just don't know.
is
Yeah, I don't believe that's the case.
Because it automatically says yes.
Even if it's allowed, you still have to go through site plan review, and at that point, I mean, it gets right down, site plan review gets right down to landscape on a commercial development, like Bob said, over 500 square feet. So anybody that builds anything over 500 square feet is gonna.
But the site plan review, would that be for traffic, parking, dumpsters, lighting, and landscape?
I'm only speaking from my
And
experience.
it's just
When I built on-
the function of the business is, I think, is what Sean's
Right. When I built on
talking
Rydell
about.
Road,
I just don't know.
it was allowed. What we did was allowed. But I still had to go to site plan review, and I had to hire a landscape architect to determine what trees to plant where, parking, lighting, and rubbish.
But did they ask you what you were doing inside the building?
I don't honestly know. I
Yeah,
think,
and I think that's
think it was
the
general,
point
said
that
we're
Sean's
gonna-
trying to make, is the site plan review has a certain outline of what they do. From what I've seen on the planning board meetings, like when they did the envelope company, they were talking about the lighting, and so it doesn't bother the neighbors and all this other stuff, and you have enough parking and those things. But what went on inside the building was something totally different, so. Again, I'm not opposed to it, I think it's pretty broad as to what you can, when you put et cetera, there is no limitation or addressing what could potentially be. You could go in there and they could just have, we're gonna wash Medline's diesel trucks every time they come in, we're gonna just power wash these things, clean them right up. And then, is that allowed? Is that what we're looking to do? Or if we're just having a car wash for automobiles, maybe we should think about that. And I'm not trying to limit it, it's just, yeah, it's the question, so I'm
Is
just
there any
pointing
way-
out thoughts.
Excuse me.
Yep, no, that's fine, I'm done, Ron.
Is there any way you can find out, like, pick one, I don't care where the hell it is, but the one down in 146A, and find out information about that one, as to what they went through? Is that possible?
sure it's public record. I assume they had to get a special permit or a site plan review at minimum to build that one.
Because, that's, I don't know what you feel, that must be business.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, but see, like with the typical commercial building, you have Board of Health, you have all these different departments that would feed into it. I don't know what goes into, that would oversee a car wash type business for environmental concerns.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're going back and forth here, what if?
Right.
So if we found out what the hell they had to go through.
Yep.
It cuts it way to hell down and say, okay, we like what that you did here, so we can,
Yep.
all the parameters have been taken care of.
They might address issues we haven't even thought of.
Right.
Right.
But it makes it easier because, heaven knows, we need business.
No, absolutely, yeah.
And you want to put it in an area where, a car wash to me is it's all automatic. You don't have any employees, so you're
Yeah.
thinking, that's the other thing. You don't want to put it on a prime piece of land where you could have something bigger and better.
Depends on the size of the land, too. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
My main concern would be the water after. That'd be my own concern in regards to the bylaws. I mean, in the very end, we got to protect our ground that's underneath us, and if we did put it into the sewer system, would it be overwhelming for our town? That kind of thing. And I'm sure, when I used to live on Main Street, so your water bill came in and your sewer bill was double that. That's what it usually came down to. You know, so. Then that would be coming part of the Board of Health, Sewer Department. I mean, a lot of questions, you know. I like the idea, Bob. I think this is great, I really do. Somebody grabbing hold of this kind of stuff and bringing it up in the open for us, you know, so. And Sean, your input was awesome.
As to the idea, I like it.
Yeah.
And if we were to be asked to vote today, should we send a recommendation to the planning board that we're in support of it? I would vote yes,
Yep.
I think, unless something comes up in the next couple of minutes.
Yep.
I gotta be honest, in my heart of hearts, I like the idea of being a special permit kind of a situation as opposed to just by right. Because if it is a special permit, then they gotta come in and tell us, hey, this is how we're getting rid of the water, this is how we're getting rid of the stuff, this is the kind of thing that's gonna happen.
Put it down the street. Yep.
As opposed to, because how's this, I don't believe site plan review can just say, no, you can't use it to clean out your oil trucks. I just don't think they can do it if our zoning bylaw allows as a matter of right, the ability to do it,
Well, see,
which
the
is what it
point-
seems to by the definition. And I'm not disparaging the definition. It's clearly a very hard work definition, and you're working with the word structure, which any sane person would never think means a tent. It's just the idea of a tent is. Or a flagpole. And it's just, that's what makes it a little bit frightening in my mind. And that's the only, but again, I would vote if the board, consensus is that we should recommend that it be allowed, I would vote. But special permit it's kind of nice because it gives us that. And I don't know if a
When
site
I
plan
talk
does.
about site plan review and with them, I guess what I'm saying is they'll bring this up, meaning we just talked about,
Okay.
landscaping and that kind of thing on the outside and inside. Huh?
Noise, light.
And noise and lights and stuff like that.
hazardous materials.
Not that they're gonna deny it, Sean. I never, if you got that from me, they didn't deny it. It was the questions that are gonna be coming up. It's like a drive-through. What kind of windows are gonna be, if you know what I mean? So that kind of thing.
Of all the things to compare
I
it
know.
to, sir, of all the things.
They can
So-
set conditions, right?
Well, exactly,
Yeah, that-
exactly. So, and again, it's not that they're gonna refuse it, it's I'm gonna say it's their job to pick this apart. And I know, not crucify the person that wants to put it in, but find a way to get something to help them get it through.
Mike?
That's my position.
Bob, I have a question, maybe this will clarify things. Is on village business and commercial, we have it by planning board, and then industrial, yes. Why would we not put planning board on industrial? And then that would eliminate all this.
That was discussed. If
It
you,
just seems logical that if we have all these concerns,
if you look at an industrial map, you don't have much industrial land.
not today, but there's this
basically,
guy on EDC that likes to change a lot of zoning maps, so tomorrow we could have a lot of them.
We don't have any land.
We're not gonna mention names.
No, I would never say your name out loud, Bob. No, but in all seriousness, I would think that would alleviate a lot of the concerns and questions that we have, that it's not that it's not allowed. You put it right through industrial, you put it planning board as well. So now it's allowed in all three categories. It's just now you get to really understand what they're doing. So if they decide they're gonna have a garbage truck washing business, maybe that's not what we want. Maybe it is what we want.
Yeah.
But you'd have better control over it, I think.
The public hearing is October 28th for the planning board. It's been advertised. Today was the first day. The legal notice was in the Worcester Telegram.
Yeah, it'll be again next week.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then the following Thursday, the 28th, is the public hearing.
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, public hearing, we can have input, but that can't be changed. It can only be changed on the floor of the special town meeting?
I don't know.
Or can that wording be changed? In other words, Y to PB?
Right, I have no idea if it can be changed or not. I have no idea.
I don't have the answer for that.
No.
Council.
I don't know. Wish I did.
But, excuse me,
Go ahead.
if you're worried about garbage trucks and all that, it'd be a hell of a lot easier, wouldn't it? If you took those few categories that you don't want to go through the car wash and have them listed as, no, you can't do this.
Absolutely, but that would put quite a burden on the writer of this,
Yeah.
the writer of this definition, which I can understand.
I think it would simplify it if it was just put through as planning board approval versus just a straight yes. That and take the et cetera out of there. If there's things you want in there, just put them in. But once you leave et cetera, we could have another water slide at the car wash.
Under it?
No, but seriously, yeah, I know it's a pretty exaggerated term, but you know what I mean? It's just, when you put et cetera,
But-
that can mean an awful lot of things.
John brought up a good point with vending machine.
Yeah.
We didn't think of vending machines.
Yeah,
Whether it be soda or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those smelly things you put in your car,
Yeah.
that's all income.
Right.
And the machines, if
yeah,
it's under
a coin changer.
Yeah, the coin changer's a vending machine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but when people go for a car wash, they ain't gonna go in there and grab a candy bar. They wanna get in and get the hell out. No?
It depends.
know.
I might be,
He'll find it.
I might have my Toyota Corolla with big rims in there, and I'm cleaning this baby up. I need a candy bar to keep me going.
Well, that's a stretch.
Well, I mean, if vending
No, but
machines were added,
seriously,
they could put limits on it.
I think
Well, again, maybe,
I think it would help the planning board by having a little more control over instead of just yes, because they're going to be battling come site plan
and
review.
again, it comes down to when they get there, is to ask the right questions, and I'm not gonna call it restrictions, but restrictions. They'll have the say in it, you know, so they bring it there for a reason, planning
Right.
board, to help them through the process without,
If it's under the planning board approval, but if it says yes by right,
yeah.
all the planning board has is
So-
how much parking and how's the traffic going to work coming in and out.
So Mike, should you just take the EDC right out there?
Oh, I would take the et cetera out and put in whatever it is that you wanted in there, and then have the industrial as planning board versus a straight yes.
Question.
I like, go ahead, I'm sorry.
How many car washes do you think that the town of Douglas would entertain or be supported?
Two.
Max.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two max.
Max.
Yeah.
I don't, a lot of, people work out. So
Yeah.
they're on their way home, hey, we'll stop at the car wash on the way home. They're not gonna wait till they come in here, have supper, and then go out to the car wash.
Right,
Nope.
So
No,
I
get your
think, I
point.
think it
Just-
would probably be only one.
right.
He said
There
max.
might be only one, but the point is we're not talking just car wash.
Well,
No,
What do you
you're assuming it's a car wash, but it's not always just a car wash because it's vehicles. When you change it to vehicles from automobile,
well, yeah, if you
a
could.
vehicle could be a tractor-trailer truck, could be a garbage truck,
Yeah.
could be a motorcycle, could be
An
a
airplane.
scooter, could be anything,
With wheels.
bicycle.
'Cause I don't think,
If you list
honestly, I don't think vehicles.
automobiles, does it include pickup trucks?
Right?
Oh, you could put a maximum weight or something.
That would be the easiest.
Commercial vehicles under 26,000 pounds or
Yeah.
something.
No more than 6 wheels, because we got a lot of dualies out there, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, no more than 6 wheels.
I think that would complicate things. Just for the town itself. I think because common sense should prevail, and then it become a public meeting anyways, if it was under planning board. So then if you had a problem with my dually going through there, you could go there and voice your opinion, say, no, I don't want dualies in there, I want SUVs in there. Okay. At least you'd have an input. At this here, you have no input.
Yeah.
This is by right. All they're gonna control is parking, traffic flow, and landscape, and lighting.
Yep.
So, that's my 2 cents. But I do support you in what you're trying to do. I just
I
think,
don't know if the planning board at this public hearing can change that Y to PB,
yeah,
or whether that has to be a floor vote at an amendment at the town meeting.
Well, if you got there with the intentions of, we've done this before, on not only this board, but selectmen, get there in the beginning of the meeting and have a meeting before the meeting, if you know what I mean. As long as you post it, you could do it. I've done it with the watershed, we've gone somewhere else. We've done it with whom? The selectmen. We've had a meeting over here with the selectmen. We just had a meeting, you know what I'm saying? So it's doable.
Well,
And you can check with council, but I think that, or council's here, but I would think that would be the logical way of doing it. If you talk to your board members and say, we discussed this is probably a good idea, leave it up to you guys and scratch it up and change it, whatever you want to do.
They can, I would think that they can change it anyways, because this is a hearing on the proposed changes.
Right.
So
Amendment.
that's what the hearing is for, to hash out these things. So if the planning board
Already looking at
decides
it,
to
right.
change that and vote on making that planning board approval versus yes, or making them all yes, they have that ability to do that after they hear the input from whoever goes to the meeting.
Well, he's the chairman, so.
No, he's not. He's the EDC vice chair. He has
Vice chair,
nothing
I'm
to
sorry.
do with the planning board. He is only the proponent.
I will be at that planning board meeting now.
You'll be at the planning board, but you're not
If you
part of
make a
planning.
motion- Right.
Correct.
If you make a motion to adopt that as a recommendation from the zoning board,
Mm-hmm.
they will hear it. I will be there representing the EDC, and as a citizen, I recommend one of you be there as well for your zoning board input.
Yep.
So what are you looking for from us tonight?
Well, I would say,
Other than you brought us information, but I didn't know if you needed anything from
Well, we
us.
wanted to vote from us,
Yeah, I don't know, we actually need to vote, but we can make a recommendation.
recommendation
to the planning board.
to the planning
Right.
board.
We recommend that we change Y to PB under industrial district.
Right, and that we, yeah, exactly.
Just to prevent the possibility of abuse.
Right, and this would.
Well, at least it puts it on the table so you can talk through these issues.
Right.
If the car wash is going next to your house and you don't want garbage trucks there washing out, then at least you have a voice. Right now, you have none, because it's by right.
Yep.
But I don't live in industrial.
Not today, but there's a guy on EDC that tomorrow you could have it.
We're just not rezoning to rezone. There's a
No, no, no,
purpose.
no.
There's a
I'm only
purpose.
teasing you about it.
All right, so you want to vote on it, or just make a recommendation?
Yeah, the only recommendation I would probably change is, we talked about, is et cetera.
Remove the et cetera and add specifically what the vending machines or whatever else they think.
Yeah, if you can think of something besides what I just,
What about the,
how do you feel about it first, Bob, before
I like the et cetera because it would include a vending machine,
okay,
which we didn't think of.
all right.
At the
Why-
beginning,
why
we
wouldn't you
might
put-
Think of something else.
why wouldn't you write vending machines in there?
You could, but then what's coming up next week or next year? I don't, what if this car wash company comes in with something we didn't think of?
This is true.
A money exchange machine, an ATM machine.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a vending machine.
ATM machine.
No, not an ATM machine, yeah. Do we have anything in our, you read a book from cover to cover, is there anything in there about ATM machines?
I didn't see ATM
Yeah.
in there.
But down in the one in Uxbridge, they have, where you put out like a $20 bill in and you get your,
Change,
Yep.
yeah.
no, what?
Tokens?
Tokens, yeah.
Yeah,
So if it was me going into business like this, I wouldn't want to put anything on the outside. I want everything they're spending there that I'm providing, so I'm making the money on.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to put an ATM machine in there, let them get their own tokens from, like they have down there. I mean, I've only been there about 4 or 5 times, but it's really, the other one is in Auburn, you know?
Now, is an ATM machine a bank or financial institution?
Part of,
Part of.
so.
You can get money,
Mm-hmm.
do
We
transactions.
have 2 in town already. Actually, I only know of 3 ATMs. One in each bank,
Sure,
of course.
question.
And the
I
other
didn't know,
one,
I didn't know, I'm
family
sorry.
friendly.
I didn't know if adding, after including including material, irrelevant equipment, and then striking the et ceteras, then if site planning has the ability to limit things, that gives them the ability to limit whatever type of objects that might be there. I don't know if that,
Relative to,
relative and material, say, the language, or material, to including material equipment, or including relevant material equipment, then that leaves it broad, because you got a broad definition, and if site plan wants to come up with, allow things that are, we can't think of, but striking that, does that take care of it, do you think? Or, no, I'm asking,
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering, as you're talking, that if this becomes a planning board approval versus a yes approval,
I thought the answer.
do they have control over what's going to be the et ceteras in the building? So,
I might add, the last phrase, including equipment, drying, vacuuming, air pressure, separate from structure, that was a planning board addition, a recommendation.
right, I think Les made that.
Les and,
Yeah.
Aaron, I think Aaron,
Maybe. I remember Les saying something about the separate
Aaron
from the
was sitting where
structure.
you were sitting, and Aaron was sitting right here.
you sure?
Yeah, because he sits in the same spot every meeting. Greco sits right over here.
So, I think we should push this forward to Bob, for Bob, and with the exception of that, et cetera. So,
Et cetera, and the planning board.
And the planning
approval
board, right.
Versus the
The
yes.
the industrial,
I think
yes.
that gives them a little more control over
Yeah.
what actually comes in.
I definitely agree with the Y to PB.
yeah,
That's pretty much a no-brainer.
Right.
especially on industrial. So if you have to vote, I'm going to say yes to this plan. If you want to,
So we're going to make a recommendation to the planning, we're going to vote on a recommendation to the planning board to change the Y to a PB,
yep,
eliminate the et cetera.
and put in,
I'm not really worried about the et cetera if the planning board has that, provided that they can control what's actually going on with that building.
I agree with
That,
Would you take away their
if they
actual
have
right?
that, then that's fine. I don't care about the et cetera because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If we take
but-
out the word et cetera, it limits us to what can go.
Right. And leaving Y in there with the et cetera
Right.
leaves the barn door wide open. So I think a planning board approval on that, and I don't see why that would be an issue, because they're going to approve it unless it's something outrageous. Why wouldn't they, if they already did it in village business and commercial, why aren't we doing it in industrial? What is different about that?
Yeah.
I would think that you would just have the same process in either of the three categories.
Yeah, we looked at, I mean, there are some houses, Gilboa Street, a lot of houses, all commercial.
Yeah,
So that's why we wanted not a car wash right there next to a house in commercial. That's why it was special permit.
yeah,
Industrial, we are changing on the opposite side, but the
Yeah.
only industrial left is Davis Street.
right. So to your point about what you just said about the car wash.
Right.
If you go to 116/118 Davis Street, which is DNR Roofing and Louis' property that's in the back, right across the street is Ginger's house. So it's no different than Gilboa Street.
Right.
So I think the planning board approval would work much better for the town.
Right, special permit.
Versus, yeah, planning board approval versus just a straight out yes.
Yeah.
And then you could leave whatever you have in there because they have the control over
And right,
what would go in
et
and what
cetera.
wouldn't. And then the town, people would have their input.
Has anybody talked to town council about the proposed amendment,
Yeah, town council had no problem with this as,
et cetera? They had no problem with that?
okay.
yeah, this was all run by town council.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a definition of structure, I bet. So, I apologize. Please don't take that as being disrespectful to you, sir. It wasn't in any way.
It's the bin that's got me.
It's a flagpole, right? I mean, come on.
Retaining wall.
Yeah.
So what would the board like to do? Do we want to
Sorry.
make a motion and vote on it, or we just want to send a recommendation to the planning board through Bob?
You could do that. I mean, we all agree that, I mean, this is probably a good idea. I don't have to vote on it, but I mean, the why to a PD?
And I agree with that.
Yeah, that's about all.
You agree with that?
Oh,
John?
absolutely, yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
you agree
Yeah.
with that? Yeah. So, Yeah.
You think you should send a recommendation to the planning board, or
Happy to do that.
yeah,
have any one of you show up
yeah,
at the public hearing
Yeah.
in addition to
You said it was October what?
28th?
28.
That's what I thought.
If more than 3 of us show up, we gotta call
I know.
a meeting there, so,
You showing
Unless you
up?
show up as citizens, right?
huh?
Unless you show up as citizens, residents.
Kind of a gray area. I
Oh,
wouldn't,
that's a
I
gray
wouldn't feel
area.
comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I
wouldn't-
Myself,
I wouldn't
I
either.
wouldn't feel comfortable doing it.
Past history just to cross your Ts, because this
Somebody can come back and bite you.
Yeah.
through this a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah. Well, as long as somebody from
One or two
the
of us.
board, if you're gonna go, John, that's fine.
Yep.
When did you say that meeting was?
28th, 7 o'clock?
Yes.
If anybody plans to attend, just email Dan,
Yep,
not in a group one, but that way he knows.
yep.
We don't violate our open meeting law.
Yeah.
There's still an open meeting law? Thought there was an emergency.
There still is
I
one.
apologize. I keep blurting out.
I know you're used to 2019,
I'm
but
lonely. I apologize.
I know you're used to 2019, but 2020, we still have it.
Find the right foot. The guy over there saying he's lonely.
Okay. So,
Good work, Bob, and
Yep.
appreciate your efforts.
and Bob was also here about proposed zoning bylaw amendment for Gilboa Street, which I'm going to recuse myself because I have a financial interest in part of that area that's under consideration.
That's true, you are
Yeah.
across this piece that comes back out.
There's no need to get in a potential headache for no reason.
No, I had my sign out there in May, that's not a problem?
No.
No, all right.
So,
It'll be out there again next May, but
you're in charge.
Mr. Co-Chair.
all right, Bob, what do you have?
Who's Mr. Co-Chair? Mr. Co-Chair? The EDC was looking at this car wash from Rochelle Bank on property 45.1. It's zoned RA, which can't have a car wash, can't have a car wash, period, whether it's industrial or whatever. So we're in the process of rezoning this. Now, at the EDC meeting, we decided to, we came upon the conclusion that the north side of Gilboa Street was commercial, why not make the south side commercial? And that's the recommendation we brought to the planning board. The planning board made the recommendation, the south side is mostly industrial, let's just make the whole thing industrial. So the north side will stay commercial, the south side will stay industrial. I thought that was a good recommendation for 2 reasons. One is, I sat down with Bill Cundiff, and for us to actually make the physical boundaries, meet and bounds of this white dashed line would have been almost impossible. It is not property lines. Where that gray white, the white is,
Your map's a little different than mine.
you have the correct map.
Okay.
Is that in the packet?
But if you look at our existing zone map right now, the residential area does not follow property lines. It's a floating shoreline.
Yeah, Dan, I'm gonna take your copy, give it to Ronnie.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Sorry, Bob.
There's not a second copy, right?
Yeah, I might have another one here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you got one there? Yeah, give that to Bob, please.
Sorry.
The map you have is what we finally came up with. We identified all the RA property, and it, like I said, it does not follow property lines. Take, for instance, the parking lot across the mill. That parking lot is zoned industrial. That pond is zoned RA. It's the same parcel, 138-44.
Right.
It would have been almost impossible for Bill and I to identify the meets and bounds of the rezone. So the planning board made the recommendation to eliminate that, just make the whole thing industrial.
Makes sense. So for clarification, the lot you're talking about is where the RA is written down there, correct?
It's 45.1 is this little one.
Oh, okay.
The little one.
There was somebody that planned to put a house in there, but I think,
A long time ago.
yeah, there was a
but the
market
soil,
crash.
A lot of brick, soil,
Yep.
ash, glass. It used
Yep.
to be a dump.
You want to know the
Yeah.
history on that piece?
Sure.
That piece, get my points right here. That piece, is it, not Kosmasik, he had cut that all down, right? That was a field in there, right? Right down to the
Yeah.
river. And what the hell?
I remember that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was probably just 70s.
well, yeah, even before probably, yeah. Now, we wanted to make that an addition to the ball field, right? Conservation, she's not there anymore. And she raised hell because how are you gonna put fertilizer on the grass? I'm not shitting you. Put fertilizer on the grass, we said, yeah, well, she says, no, you're not gonna be able to do that because it's wetland down there. Would have been an ideal addition to the, for
Yeah.
more sport. Instead of, I don't think anybody hardly uses the one up there now, right?
Right.
On Depot?
Yeah, no, on,
Martin?
yeah,
Actually, I know a few people that do go up there.
yeah.
Yeah, even my neighbors.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's what we wanted to do way back then. But this piece over here that you're talking about right here, this
Parking
little
lot.
piece, parking
The
lot,
parking lot.
yeah, that wasn't always there,
Right, that's man-made.
yeah.
So,
you-
yeah,
you're
it seems like a good use for that lot.
It is. It is.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just got confused. The body of water is going to be made industrial?
Well, yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
well, right now, they just have it zoned as RA. So just to clean up the map, all it is, that little hash mark area is all gonna turn gray. Because right now, we have RA in there, and there's no houses that would even be built in that little area, correct, Bob?
Because of the wetland.
And when you, that, I guess I miss, how does it stop being wetland? I guess that's what I don't
The
understand.
river next to a riverfront?
River next to a riverfront? Oh, you be serious? I'm being a wise guy.
Side, no, on the side of it, I don't think, only because of the footage, how many feet you have to be away. A riverfront is different than a brook.
Yeah, riverfront is 200 feet, so even though he's changing, huh?
A flowing stream or river is 200 feet,
Yeah.
a pond is 100.
Yeah, yeah, they were saying river, this is a pond.
Right.
Yeah, so even though that the proposal is to change this to industrial, they still have to go through their conservation steps to get in there.
If I can, I apologize again. I've spoken more in this meeting, I think, than I have in the last 5
No,
years.
you're just trying to make
you
up,
haven't shown up.
you're trying to
I'm
make up
lonely.
ground,
I
that's
really
all,
am.
that's all.
Brought out the best in me.
This is horrible. I apologize. Because I do not mean this anywhere near as sarcastically as it sounds. what, as a practical matter, what difference does it make? I'm just curious in terms of the water area. For instance,
Oh, the water
No matter
area
what
itself,
we-
it doesn't make any difference, but what would you classify it as?
No, I don't,
So just for the purpose of cleaning up the map, because it doesn't distinguish between water and land when you do your zoning map.
so this is literally a Scribner's kind of a thing.
It's just to clean up the map. Otherwise, you would have,
Okay.
you have to have it zoned as something. You can't just have the body of water with no zoning on top of it. So,
Here's one for you, just behind the sewer treatment plant. That property line is halfway through the river, Mumford River. So the property that's on the shoreline of the Mumford River on the sewer treatment plant is industrial. The other shore is RA.
And this would make it universally
Middle
industrial.
of the river. So this is just making the whole thing simple.
Just cleaning up the lines, as they was.
yeah, cleaning up the lines and creating the opportunity for the car wash to go in there.
Right.
Which is,
Or
well, no, but it's a
No, no,
good
no.
use of the property because nothing, you're not gonna build a house there, I wouldn't think.
Well, there's a big house right next to the sewer plant, isn't there? Yeah. Big old place from the 1700s. I almost bought it, that's how I know.
Now, the other thing I was thinking of today is where the word proposed zoning is, that's where our 1 million square foot warehouse is going. The piece of property to the right, that's where the bridge is going across the river. If you think about this, depending on where those boundaries are, you could have half the footing for that bridge in RA and half the footing of the bridge in industrial.
So the,
I'd love to see the special permitting on that one.
Well,
so I'm on the
Again-
assumption, this is the land we're trying to develop for that commercial piece of property, am I
These
correct?
two pieces will be sold,
Yes.
or
Well,
all of this one.
okay, Bob, when you just pointed this out, proposed zoning, which is a strike, you're just meaning the changes right now?
This is the 1 million square foot warehouse going in
Yes.
here.
Yep. Yep.
I
right there.
apologize.
Yep.
Would you object to, I apologize. Okay.
This is the 1 million square
how
foot
things
warehouse.
change.
The
Okay.
bridge across the
We had
Mumford
that years
River
ago.
will be
We had it years
following
ago. What, as
the property
industrial?
line, which
We had-
crosses
we had the
the
plan
river,
for-
which is RA.
For that, and that was gonna connect up into Boston's Farm.
Oh, all right, yeah.
I got the plan for that at home, right? And again, conservation said, there's no goddamn way you're gonna put, plain English, no goddamn way you're gonna put a bridge across that, right?
Yeah,
And they held to it. And that's how we got screwed on all of this years ago.
well,
The brother.
luckily, we have a new Boy Scout that's been out beating the bushes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You looking for a vote,
Not mentioning names either, right?
I'm glad.
you looking for a vote, recommendation, what are you looking for, Bob?
Just a recommendation on this one. I mean, this one's an easy one.
Well,
Yeah.
just a little straw poll here. I'm in agreement with it. You, John?
I am,
Yep.
yes.
Ronnie?
No objection.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I think you got a full support of
Yeah.
the members sitting here tonight.
Yep.
And this was legal notice in today's paper as well. Next Wednesday, this will be discussed, public hearing, October 28th,
Where?
planning board, right here.
Good.
I'd like to see the, I'd like to hear.
I can't wait until next
I'm gonna
month to
go
see
with
what he
that one,
brings
I
in.
think, to see who the hell's gonna be affected to this.
There's always pitchforks.
Huh?
There's always people with pitchforks.
Yeah. You got that right.
I think Dan left.
We can,
Oh, he's
No,
napping
Dan's
over
here.
there.
All right. You can come back, Dan. We're done with that one.
You just lost your job. You had control for like, what, 10 minutes?
Yeah, he yanked it right out.
Didn't want to give it to him for too long.
Maybe in
being
the old days, not now.
Oh, no, that was just mean.
one final comment, Mr. Chairman, is that the EDC is like the new think tank We're coming up with ideas as people approach us. A lot of development is on the books right now. Private discussions can't be announced. As we have our EDC meetings, we'd like to invite you, or two of you, so we don't get a quorum. John, you've been at one of our meetings.
Yes.
The more input we have, the better decision we can make.
Yeah.
Had one of you been at our meeting when we had Y instead of PB,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be going through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I like transparency, but that I learned in the airlines is that you can make a better decision with a lot more input.
Yep. What is your regular meeting night, Bob?
We usually meet the first Wednesday of the month.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The special ones, when you call, I had planned on
Yeah.
coming, but it was a last minute thing, I was like, I can't, so.
The one with the car wash came up quick.
Yeah.
We had that, and
Well, I
I
was
think
at,
the
I was at
second,
one of them.
that- I think that was the second Monday.
Yeah.
Because we backed up on the timeline, and we would have missed the special
Special
meeting.
meeting. Yep.
And we usually have a meeting in the spring, the annual town meeting, and then we have the fall meeting, special town meeting.
Right.
This year was kind of different. We had our annual town meeting September 12th. 2 months later, we're having a special town meeting. So now that put the crunch on us. It didn't fit our time frame for that first Wednesday. That's what we called, we had 2 meetings that month.
That's okay. We're going in the right direction. I want to thank you for your time.
Yep.
When are you going to have your meeting for this?
The first Wednesday of every month.
Oh, for this one here? No, the 28th.
28.
28th,
is the planning
October
board
28th.
meeting. It's
And
in
that's where you're going to discuss
it's-
with the
changing the Y to
Yeah.
a PB.
Yeah.
Yes.
28. At the
October.
plan,
You plan on going to that?
yeah.
Yeah. You're going, John?
I'm going to say yes right now, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to commit to something. I haven't looked at my calendar.
And the only reason I ask is I won't go to it. That way we don't have to schedule a meeting. If you decide, either one of you decide, just email.
Yeah, but if anybody else wants to go, we can call a meeting.
No, I know that. Yeah.
Just
I
before
mean,
we
if
go in.
somebody else wants to, I'm just,
Oh, no.
No, that's fine. I think we're all on the same page, so I don't think it's,
If you have 2 representatives there, you're good.
Right.
I mean, if
Yeah.
it came critical, you could always call a joint meeting.
right.
Correct.
But you still have to post it, though.
Yes, well,
Yes.
48 hours in advance, so it'll be
Yeah.
that Monday. Yeah, the best thing to do is just show up 2 people.
I mean, you could call Con Clerk or Maria.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, because, I mean, if we all show up at the town meeting, we don't have to call a meeting,
Right. Yeah.
right? We all go to the annual town meeting, we don't have to call a meeting.
I don't think so, no.
No, so
Unless you're going to
I don't know, and I don't
This is
want
a
to.
public event, but if Bob asks us for our input, or the chairman of the zoning, but I think that's where his meeting is.
Yeah, but, excuse me.
This is getting weirder by the minute.
Something you ate?
That's what happens when you call your kids, they call you back 48 hours later. Sorry.
So I'm in favor of what you got right here, Bob.
On the rezone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the rezone, industrial. So,
It makes life easy for Bill, too.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Do you want we do a motion, or?
I don't know.
We're all,
I think it's just
We're all
a
in agreement?
recommendation.
You
was
can
fine.
carry this forward.
Yeah, this one's probably going in as published.
Yeah.
No changes. We only have one recommendation on the previous one.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Okay, so we're on the same page?
Yeah,
Awesome.
very good. Appreciate your time.
Well, you're welcome.
yeah.
And your efforts into this.
Yes,
Awesome.
right.
Is there a timeline on that? Over here? Unless you can't divulge it.
Purchase and sale agreement is in its final stages, crossing Ts, dotting Is. It's with the attorneys.
It's not spot zoning, what's it called, spot zoning? This is general zoning, not spot zoning, right?
Right, this is not spot zone.
Yeah.
Just sounded for a record, I just want to throw it out.
Had we rezoned just 45.1, that would be spot zone. But we're doing it in entire strip.
I just want to throw it out there on the record, that's all.
Now, I brought up the question, is it reverse spot zoning? Because we're leaving two parcels RA. The corner lot, which is diagonally opposite from you, and that house, Bucamo, they're staying RA. So I brought up the question, is it like reverse spot zoning, back door into spot?
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
And the answer was no.
No, okay. Because you're right, because you're backing right up to it.
Right. We're kind of leaving spot zoning or creating spot zoning, but it's not by definition.
Good point. Okay.
Yep.
What do we got next, boss?
We were going to have a discussion about the ZBA applications, which, we could touch on some things, but there's been some headaches for us and some for some applicants over maybe the application not being as detailed as it should be. We had some people come in without plot plans they did themselves, which that doesn't fly because,
No.
as we know, in one case, the guy proposed to put an addition on his house. He said, I'll only be, whatever it was, 3 feet from the lot line, and then when he had it surveyed, he would have been 5 feet onto the neighbor's land.
Yeah.
So people coming in and just saying, hey, this is my parcel, and they hand draw a proposed building, and they say they're going to
Or
be.
edit
Edit an existing one. So I think things like requiring a certified plot plan
with a wet stamp.
with every application would be not only helpful to us, but helpful to the applicant. We know what,
Yeah, and he would know where his property lines are too.
Right.
right, but I think a lot of people guess, and then they say, well, I'm going to be, when I'm said and done, I'll be 10 feet away from the lot line, but that's not necessarily the case. So,
But normally, I would think that would be required to even get to the decision point to force them to come see us. But unfortunately, the burden's been put on us to make applicants go get it after they've already spent the money to
Well,
come
that
to
part of
us.
it,
And it's very frustrating for both us and the
Yeah, and
applicant.
you're right, it is, because it's come before us more than once.
It
Several times.
happens
Yeah.
majority of the time.
No, I know, when you start talking about even lean-tos, crap.
yeah, and I mean, I know people don't want to pay an engineer, and they don't want to pay a lawyer, and they don't, but sometimes without one or the other or both,
Yeah.
Well, we can't pass judgment on it
Right.
that way, because he's guessing just as well as we're guessing.
right,
You
right.
just can't make a judgment because you don't even know what it is.
And if,
Isn't it a disservice to them to not make them appreciate how serious I think it is?
Yeah.
Right.
People
agreed.
seem to come in sometimes, a
Yeah.
lot of times, almost like
Yeah.
this isn't really anything.
Yeah, that example that,
This official bunch would never.
that Dan brought up,
But, you know,
that example that Dan brought up was actually on Franklin Street.
Yeah.
And they wanted to put the in-law to the left-hand side of their property. And they said that but when they were done, they were going to be 3 feet from the property line, which was Martin Park. And I actually insisted that they get a plot plan on that. And when they did that, the house was 10 feet further to the left than it was. They were able to put it on the right side by right.
With no zoning,
They didn't even have to do anything.
they didn't have to come to us.
But if we had allowed that based on their sketch, they would have been 7 feet into the town property,
Yeah,
not 3 feet from the line, because they were 10 feet closer to that sideline. It's critical that we know what we're giving them. And we've been pretty good about, we haven't given any approval on something that we don't have a plot plan on. But I think it should be part of the application process, so they know before they even spend the money and advertise, oh, I'm gonna have to get that, so let's make sure we have it. Because they're coming here thinking they're gonna get approved,
right.
and they can't get approved because we don't have the information to make that decision.
Yeah, which isn't fair to them, but on the other hand, we need to make informed decisions, not speculating on
Correct.
where the lot line is,
Yeah.
and,
So you're gonna add this to like the second page in?
well, what I was thinking, John, was maybe, I know Mike does a lot of work out of town.
Yeah.
And Louis does. And maybe in the course of their businesses, they've encountered, gone in front of a ZBA or had a customer go to the ZBA, and maybe they could, I mean, I have one coming up in Holliston, which is, Medway, I'm sorry, unusual for me, but
Yeah.
he needs a variance. He wants to build, and I'm too close to the lot line. So that'll be an experience for me. I want to see what their application looks like, and the goal, I think, is to get people in here, get a fair decision, and get them out.
All right, so you,
Well,
I guess what you're asking
I'm
for is
missing the
then,
problem. What's the
The
problem?
problem is they're coming before us
Yeah, I understand what
without,
you're
without a certified plot plan.
Yeah,
That's the
but what's the
problem.
problem with making them do that?
Oh, no, we want to make them do it.
No,
Now they don't, we're not making them
Before
do
they
it.
come to us.
Oh, well,
We're not making them do that now,
Yeah, but I mean, it's for the benefit
of everybody.
of everybody, yeah.
Correct.
especially them,
Correct.
because you'd be, yeah, my Uncle Joe used to own that, and that big rock out there, that's my property line.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it's not.
And then they get out a yardstick and
Yeah.
measure it, and then they're off
No,
by
but
a
it's
foot.
like,
and-
I went to the town of Harwich, and and I had to go zoning down there. They actually have a whole checklist that you have to go through. The girl wouldn't even take my stuff until she went through the entire checklist and made sure, and I had to have it organized in proper order. Okay, we'll accept it now. Then she took it down and had it stamped in with the clerk.
You wouldn't have a blank copy, would you?
I'll bring one. No, I'll bring one. I'll bring one into it.
Yeah, if
You
you
know,
could do that.
ironically, because I think Northridge does the same thing. When you
Yeah.
walk in there, this is, what, 6, 7 years ago, there was one, if you want to build something, every piece of paperwork is in there, fill it all out and bring it back to me, you know, so.
But don't these people have surveyors,
They
Well,
should.
they
They
have
don't?
surveyors.
surveyors thing?
Sometimes they don't.
I don't know what the process is in the building department or anything. I have no idea. I don't get involved in that. I just surprised that we get so many applications without a certified plot plan. I don't know if they require it in there and we're just not coming to our point, to our part of it. But if it was on our application that they had to have that, it would,
No.
it would
So-
solve a big issue that we have.
Do you accept, you wouldn't accept, like my piece was done for the house, was done, how did they build the house? 1961, I think.
Yeah, but if you had a certified plot plan and you show that,
A surveyor-
that your structure is way in the middle of that, then there's no question. We're running into a problem. Let's use Walm Lake Terrace for argument's sake, 50 by 100 lots.
Yeah.
Now you got a 50-foot setback in the front, 25 in the back, 15 on each side. That building envelope's really tiny.
Yeah.
So we need a certified plot plan. If we're in my yard and it's 5.5 acres, I'm 319 feet wide, 764 feet deep, and I'm in the middle, it's pretty obvious that I'm not near my lot line. I should still have a certified plot plan if I came in, just to stay consistent with everybody else. But we're running into a lot of trouble with these little challenging lots.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'll give you, for instance, so there was one on Western, they applied for an application to build a home. When he bought the property, it said 4.1 acres of land. When he had it resurveyed, it was under 3. Under 4.
That one came before us,
So,
didn't it?
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that would happen. You say the 1960s, with the technical stuff that we have today, meaning how they measure, yours is probably close, not accurate, if you know what I mean.
Well, if a surveyor comes up there and he's doing the
But I
lines.
mean, back in the 60s, when you had it done, you think it's right on the mark?
To
You
give you an
know what I'm
example,
saying?
you know,
I mean, what happened
You know,
25, 30 years ago?
I know what the drill
Markers
holes
are.
are.
right.
Yeah, so,
But you know that piece of property on Southwest Main Street where the house burnt down?
yes.
All right, 33 acres there?
Yes.
Okay. When the guy bought that, he asked me to get him a survey to survey it. When they pulled out the records of that, it went back to the 1800s or 1700s or some foolish thing. You go to somebody's house and over by the elm tree, this is what the description was.
Oh, Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it took the guy 2 weeks
We're just saying we
to
want
survey
clean-
that property,
clean it
because
all
that's
up
what
so
the
we-
description was.
That's
so,
exactly what we need, that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So you're asking.
we've had people come in and say, I want to put a 12-foot addition on the side of my house, and I'll end up being 10 feet from the lot line. It's like, how do you know that? Well, I know where my lot line is,
Yeah, but we don't.
but we don't.
But we look like the bad guy because we're making them do this, we're putting them through this big expense, but we can't make a logical
Yeah,
assessment of what they have without proof of where they are.
yeah.
So I think what you're suggesting or asking is Mike pick up a zoning bylaw
Yep.
in the town he's working in, you pick one up.
Yeah, I'm in a bunch of towns, I'll just collect them.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I just bring
And-
stuff in,
so they
anybody else brings
Compared
it
to
in.
what we have
Yeah,
in
I mean,
regards to.
You
Okay,
know, I'm hoping that between our November, December meeting, maybe by January 1st, we can have a new application,
sure.
you know, and then,
That sounds good.
and it'll be better for the applicant, too. Some of them, if it doesn't ask for it, they don't know they need to do it.
Well, I look at this
You know,
sometimes and
and-
say the organization's name. And the second one says organization's name. And the third one says organization's name. Instead of homeowner. I mean, that kind of thing, I'm going like, okay, what's this one? So
Well, the applicant, if they were represented by
no, I
an
understand.
attorney or an engineer,
Right, the engineer, that's mainly what I,
yeah. And then
You looking?
sometimes the applicant is
LLC.
different than the owner.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, that being said,
you
that's
know,
true.
in my business, I've
Yeah.
said to somebody, I'll buy this if I get the approvals I need.
Right.
So I'm the applicant, they're the property owner, and,
Yeah, if you go onto the Harwich Board of Appeals site, I'm the applicant.
yep,
I
Yeah.
wasn't the owner of the
If you
property,
looked at-
I just went,
A piece of property that I have, my plans have the person's name on the very bottom right. But it was for me.
yeah.
Town of Douglas.
So I just wanted to kind of get the ball rolling on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And it'll be so much easier. People come in, here's our plot plan, here's this. Hopefully, we can have less continuances and get them a fair decision, right? You know, yay or nay, they'll have a fair
Pretty good
decision.
stewards, though, when it comes to one meeting, one,
oh, we try to do it.
Yeah.
you know,
We try to be
I have to
efficient
say,
with
I'm
it.
just.
Yeah, but some of the ones are just
We've been- some of them-
so close that
Yeah.
you can't
But-
make a fair, honest decision without having that information. Some of them are, you know, just too close.
But it's like with that one particular town, Harwich, when I did that, all the information they made me give them, they made that decision that night because they already had it all.
Yep.
I had to make all the copies, I had to give them 12 copies or whatever the foolish amount was, which they gave them all back to me at the end of at the meeting. We don't need all this, you want it? You might as well take it, I paid for it.
Yeah.
But it made it easy for them because it's all in order and all the information's there.
Yeah.
So then you're not going through the, I didn't have to fill out narratives like we have in all that, I didn't have to do all this stuff. They didn't even ask for that. They just, the facts, what do we have?
Another problem that we've had too is incomplete applications. You know, people, it requires certain information here, and you go down and read it, and it's like,
They
don't answer the
We've
questions.
had them within the last 12 months that for a variance, and in the setback requirements, they put not applicable.
yeah,
How is that possible?
right. Yeah,
But this is, in the application, whoever's accepting the application should never even accepted it. Should just
Right.
hand it back and say, no, you need to put this in. If you need help, we can help you with it, but it has to be in there.
Isn't the policy in the town of Douglas that you cannot help an applicant fill out an application?
I don't think so. I
Well,
think
it's
you,
not,
Well,
it's
that's what
not,
I was told.
no,
Really?
you don't fill it out for them, but why wouldn't
No.
why wouldn't they help?
I was under the assumption, that only because there was one instance just in the last, say, 4 months, 5 months, that the applicant came in and they did help her, and I apparently, I don't want to say they got in trouble, I shouldn't be saying that, but I thought it was a question whether or not they have the ability to help somebody fill out the application. They're not supposed to, that's what I was told.
I mean, most people, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing coming for a variance or,
Well,
Yeah.
and they don't have experience with that, so I think the staff has to help them.
Right, because, yeah,
That's what
the
they're there
average
for.
person doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
And nothing pisses them off more than saying, well, okay, you know, we just need this filled out, so you gotta come back
Right.
It's just, right away, it's,
Yep.
oh, for Christ's sake. this
Well,
is
that's what I want to eliminate.
And that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's absolutely what we're trying to avoid. You know, and there'll be a,
We've had all kinds of crazy things. We've had somebody fill out an application, we want a variance and a special permit, because we don't know which one we want, so we're just going to get,
yeah, that's a situation
It's like-
where they should have,
they need to read the letter of the
should've-
building official
Yeah.
and understand what it is they're supposed to be in front of us for, but
yeah, yeah,
that whoever's taking in the application really needs to go through it and make
Right.
sure that we have what we need.
you know,
Checklist is the best way to do that.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what Northbridge
That thing
does.
worked awesome, because
Webster
you
does
just
the
went
same
through one
thing.
at a time.
Yeah. Northbridge does it, Webster does it.
Yeah.
It's not
Check.
advising anybody. It's just checking.
And that girl's real sharp down there, but she's still, what? All right, you have this? Check. You have this? Check. She go through one at a time. All right, you got it all? All right, good. Because I did have to come back. I didn't have everything. You're missing this one. Okay.
But at least
I'll
you
go
didn't
get it
have-
and come back. But once I gave it to her and it was complete, it was complete. And I
You
went to
prob-
my meeting.
You probably didn't have to
Done.
go to 2 or 3 meetings,
only
because
went to one
everything they
meeting, done.
needed, they had.
Yeah.
I don't see
So I'm
the check.
thinking how much
I don't see the
keep-
check for help.
Down the case.
So that's not so bad in August, right?
Not in August, I was there in the springtime.
Yeah.
Now it's not bad. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, Mike.
No,
getting
I'll
some and-
collect whatever I can.
then if we can get
for
them to-
different applications, it's
Yeah.
just, my biggest problem with this was not requiring a certified plot plan. Because it's a major inconvenience for
Yeah.
the board as well as the applicant. Is they go through all this, they come in, it's like, sorry, you don't have it. Now they have to go try to find a surveyor and get all this done, and they're not gonna do it in 30 days.
Right.
It's a problem.
It's
Yeah.
gonna take them a while.
And we have had
Numerous.
numerous ones that didn't fill out the application completely. It's like they're looking for a variance on the right side of the house, so they tell you how far that is
Mm-hmm.
from the lot line, but not the other 3 sides. So
Right.
it should be quicker and easier for the applicant and for us.
Yeah.
So-
I agree.
All right, so I'll ask Marie to put some time on the next agenda to, if Mike has them, we can
Yeah,
get
sure.
copies and review them and,
Sure, that's
oh,
good.
sorry,
I
Sean.
think she's done. Isn't she?
No, she's 17 hours a week.
Oh, is that, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I believe.
A couple days a week, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And I do have to speak with somebody and see what happens when somebody comes in on the 3 days that she's not here.
Yeah.
You know? That's not fair to the
I think
applicant
that
either.
would
That's the
What day
beauty of the
is she in now?
checklist, right?
Yeah, it is.
I've heard different things. I've heard different things. She's on vacation this week, I think, and next.
Yeah, but you can just send Bill an email. He's a
And,
department head anyway, so Bill.
Yeah.
No,
And then,
Oh, he is?
he's a
heard-
department head of community development, yeah.
I heard Wednesday and Thursday, but I don't know that to be 100% accurate.
I thought the doors were locked every day of the week.
Yeah.
Well, they
Sorry.
have, yeah.
You just knock, peek in windows, whatever, you get it.
Let me in. I apologize.
No problem. So,
Good.
all right, we'll put some time on the next agenda, and if Mike has a chance to pick up some of those other towns, that'd be great. And I think the last thing we have on the agenda is you approve the minutes of the August and September meetings. I think everybody's got a copy. Actually, do we need,
Both Pam and Mr. Tessino are both present
right,
on those.
so maybe we ought to hold that off till next month.
What's that?
Well, we only have 3 members here tonight that were here in August and
Yeah, that's
September.
true.
So why don't we table that until
Yeah.
Next
Pam's
month.
missing, yeah.
the relatively short minutes?
Yeah.
And what I did,
Yeah, I only had one issue in there anyways, myself. So.
and I did miss something here before we start talking to Bob. Pam has an excused absence tonight, and Lou doesn't. It has an unexcused absence tonight. So with that, Ron, town's got
There's a bylaw.
a bylaw about, if you can't make it to the meeting, just call me and say you can't make it, you're covered.
Or
But
email.
if somebody does it so many times over the course of a year without contacting me,
It's
actually.
4 consecutive times within the fiscal year.
Okay.
You're,
So if you can't make it, just call,
considered
we're all good,
resigned.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything that's been enforced, but
What I'm just thinking about is, what, do we got a bus full of people out there that want to get on these boards.
Oh, I know.
No, if you miss 4, then you have to join 3 boards. So really, you really want to not do that. I'm sorry.
One of which will be the EDC.
No, it won't.
That's punishment.
Right, with that bill. Oh, right here.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I do.
I'll move to adjourn.
Here we have a motion by Mr. Holland,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Bombara, to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The meeting's adjourned at 8:30.
I was still
I told my
deciding.
wife